Good morning, chemistry students. My name is Mr. Adam. This is chemistry. Today is the 11th of May. It is a Monday and it is a day 3 in our rotation. So happy Monday, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Got to enjoy some of the lovely weather that we had, including the snow and the cold rain and the freezing temperatures. I hope that you listened to me a little bit on Friday and got to celebrate the most important thing this weekend, and that was your moms, your mothers, right? I hope you got to celebrate with your mom. It made her feel appreciated, especially in these challenging times, because I'm sure none of your mothers are doing what they imagined they would be doing in May this year. But you can still show them appreciation. Make sure you let them know that you care and that you love them and get to spend some quality time with them. So I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I hope it was a good one, a refreshing one, a relaxing one. We're down to only a couple more weeks of school. It's crazy to believe, but we have less than a month of school left. So that's good news for us. That means soon we'll be wrapping up our journey in chemistry and getting ready to move on, right? So over the weekend, or right before the weekend, we had our live video meetings on Friday. Thank you so much to those of you who managed to turn out for those. We had some good conversations, got to talk about what we've been doing in quarantine, talk a little bit about the build a molecule activity. I got to pitch that a little bit, and then just catch up. It was really nice to see those of you who were able to make it, so thank you to those of you who showed up. So we will have those again on Friday as always, and for today's schedule, if you were not aware, today is going to be our review day, and that is because tomorrow will be our quiz day. Now, I haven't talked too much about this quiz. I've more been pitching this build a molecule activity because you can do one or the other. So today you can review, you can take the practice quiz online or join us for the live Kahoot today, which I'll talk about in a second, and take the quiz tomorrow. Or if you'd rather, you can spend some time working on this build a molecule activity today, right? Where we're taking mini marshmallows and toothpicks and connecting them together to make a make a molecule, and then make a presentation based on that, or finding some other materials and building them and making some sort of presentation. So you can do that, or you can take the review today and take the quiz tomorrow, one or the other. So if you are doing the build a molecule activity, if you submit it before midnight tomorrow, you're exempt from the review today, okay? So if you're doing the review today, like I said, we will have a practice quiz online for you to take if you wish to take that. Or if you want to, you can participate today in the live Kahoot. So we did one of these before, the section 1 quiz as well. We'll do one again. That live Kahoot will take place at 1:30 today. So we'll jump on to a Google Meet. I'll stream my screen. You gotta have a phone ready with you, ready to do that Kahoot so you can play along, and a computer so you can actually see the stream. But yeah, we'll do the live Kahoot again. It should be fun. It should be a good way to review. So you can do that. You can do the practice quiz that's online, or you can be working on the build a molecule activity, okay? So that's our agenda for today. Remember, again, that the review and quiz are optional if you do the build a molecule activity and submit it by tomorrow. I already said that, okay? So what have we learned that we're actually reviewing for, right? Let's take a walk back through all of Smells section 2 and talk about what we learned, what we started with. So if you remember, we started way back section 2.9, lesson 2.9, and we were talking about these models that we called ball and stick models. And we said that these are important because they show the actual 3D shape of a molecule and how it connects together. That structural formulas are not just molecules connected in lines, but really they have 3D shapes and can rotate and change. And these 3D shapes show what space they actually take up in real life, and how they actually act in real life, and how they fit into these things called smell receptors, which we talked about in the end. So we started with this ball and stick model, talked about how those are connected together, talked about what the general shapes of molecules were. And then we started talking about these things called electron domains. And we said with electron domains, I don't have any balloons around, unfortunately. We said with electron domains that they were anywhere that you have electrons on a certain side of an atom. And that these electron domains, the important thing about them is they try to repel each other as much as possible, right? So they try to push each other away as much as possible. So when you have 4 electron domains around an atom, they try to get as far away from each other as possible. So they don't take 90-degree angles, but they take 109.5-degree angles and get as far away from each other as they can in 3D space. And that conversation about electron domains led us into this conversation about shape, molecular shape, right? So we said for molecular shape, that shapes are determined by those electron domains. So if you have 4 atoms connected to a single molecule and 4 electron domains, they form this tetrahedral shape, right? Which is kind of like a pyramid, but then it's got an atom on top, so it's got 4 atoms sticking out, right? We could have things like a bent shape. If we have 2 lone pairs and 2 bonded atoms, those lone pairs disappear and they don't actually show up in a molecule. They're there, they're pushing these electrons away, but they don't actually show up. And so what you see with this is a bent shape. And then we see things like a linear shape where you have 3 lone pairs here, and there's only 1 atom connected, and so they would just form a single line, right? Then we talked about more complicated shapes like trigonal planar. If you have a double bond that has 1 electron domain, but with 2 electron pairs, that only counts as a single electron domain. So you only have 3 electron domains pushing each other apart, and so this forms a triangle, but it's also planar or flat, right? There you go. It's planar or flat. So we talked about these complicated shapes that result from electron domains. One of your jobs is to be able to know what shapes will result when you have a certain number of electron domains, when you have a certain number of lone pairs, and a certain number of atoms bonded to the central atom. Okay? There's a chart for that in your book, which is super convenient, but you have to understand how that chart works, right? Okay? So we talked about shapes of molecules, and then we started talking about big shapes, right? Overall shapes of molecules. We talked about the space-filling models, which show that atoms really overlap more than they're connected with these, long bonds that look like lines. Really what happens is they overlap, and that's because their electron clouds are overlapping. And so this hydrogen and this carbon are actually overlapping a little bit, and their circles will kind of run into each other and overlap like that, okay? And so these space-filling models show this overlapping, and they show a more realistic picture of how atoms are actually shaped, of how big they actually are and what their overall shape is looking like, instead of being connected by those rods that don't really represent what bonds actually look like, okay? So we started talking about overall shapes. We started talking about when molecules looked kind of long and stringy, what that meant, what it looked like if they were ball-shaped, right? Or if they were, quote-unquote, frying pan-shaped, right? So we looked at those things, we looked at their overall shapes, and then we started connecting it back to smell. We said that their overall shape, if it's stringy, right, probably going to smell sweet. If it is frying pan-shaped and an alcohol or a ketone, then it's going to be minty smelling. And if it's ball-shaped in an alcohol or a ketone, then it's going to be camphor or pine smelling, right? Okay, so we said all these things about general shape, and then finally we talked about this thing called receptor site theory, okay? In receptor site theory, we said there are passages in your nose, right? And there are these receptors that are like locks. And if your molecule happens to fit perfectly into that lock, like a key, if it fits into that receptor, then that triggers the nerves in your nose, send signals up to your brain and says, that smells, this one is minty, right? It smells minty. When that fits into the receptor, it smells minty, right? If you have this long stringy molecule, your receptor looks a little bit different, it fits in there, and that smells sweet. Ball-shaped one, fits in there, that smells camphor or piney, right? So we talked about all these things in lesson 2, or section 2. Unit 2, Section 2. We talked about all these things, and we know a little bit about Lewis structures from the last section. We know a little bit about how smells connect to molecular formula and structural formula. So you'll still need all of those tools, but you're thinking a lot more about the shape and electron domains and the overall picture of smell through receptor site theory for this quiz. So take some time to review that today. That's just a general summary of everything we've covered. Take some time to review your notes, ask any questions if you are confused or didn't really get a lesson super well. Make sure to ask me questions. Make sure to brush up on this stuff so that you're ready for the quiz tomorrow, okay? And if you feel like you're not super comfortable with the quiz and don't really get the stuff, still ask me questions. But remember, the build a molecule activity is a good way to show that you understand this and that you know what's going on and know what you're talking about. So remember, either is an option. Pick whichever one works best for you. All right. that's all I got for today. I don't want to rant too much on your review day. Make sure you take some time to review. Hope to see you at the live Kahoot today at 1:30, and I will see you all tomorrow. Good luck on everything. Ask me any questions if you need it, and have a great day. Let's get a 1, 2, 3. Clap on me. See you tomorrow.